Hi there. Before we get into today's interview, I want to talk real quickly to Christian business owners, decision makers, and church leaders. You know, Salem Media is known throughout the United States for its Christian teaching and conservative talk radio stations. Well, what many people do not know is that we are a full digital marketing company. We help both companies and ministries in the online space. We connect companies through digital marketing with new potential clients and customers. And we also connect churches with those people in their communities that should be in their pew on Sunday morning. So why not partner with a company that shares both your Christian beliefs and your conservative values? Why spend your marketing dollars with companies that do not share your values or many times are in opposition to them? So we want to help you with your goals. So reach me today. You can email me at patrickhoban@salemtc.com, or you can call me directly at 651-289-4412. We don't come in just as salespeople. We come in as consultants. We want to hear what you desire, what your objectives are, and then we strategize with a whole team of people to come up with a plan to help you achieve those goals. And if you're a church leader, we come up with a plan to help you connect with those people that God has ordained to be part of your church community. So reach me today, call me, email me. I would be happy to schedule a time that is convenient for you to see what we can do to help you with your marketing goals. Now, on to today's interview. God bless. Are you searching for a church to call home or a ministry to get involved with? Welcome to Ministry Connections. I'm Evangelist Patrick Hoban, your host and the local ministry director here at AM 980 The Mission. Each week we introduce you to a local church or ministry that is making an impact here in the Twin Cities. You can also listen to past or present programs on our YouTube and Facebook pages. Just look for AM 980 The Mission. Now today we have a friend of mine I've known for several years. His name is Bill Goodwin of International Ministerial Fellowship and many other things. And welcome to the program, Bill.
Patrick, it's great to be here with you.
Yes, indeed. Now, Bill is very much involved in ministry, not only here in the Twin Cities, but across America and around the world. Now, but for our listeners, Bill, let them know who you are. Where do you come from?
Yeah, well, my name's Bill Goodwin, and for those that don't know me, my name's Bill Goodwin, and I like to say for those that do know me, I'm still Bill Goodwin. It's great to be with you and in your listeners today. I was called into ministry when I was in my teen years, and love to unpack that a little bit, but basically called into ministry and served in several different churches in the Twin Cities and outside of Minnesota, and more recently was a lead pastor of a church in Rosemount for 18 years, and that's when you and I met.
That's right.
And then...
Are you from the area, Bill, or where did you grow up?
Great question. I actually grew up in Arizona, and my extended family still resides there, and so I get back to Arizona, the Valley of the Sun, as much as I can, especially in the winter months. But that's where I grew up, and I actually started in ministry in Arizona before coming to Minnesota.
Now, tell us a little bit about how you came to know Jesus as your Savior. And I know that your book is coming out soon, and you had an experience, but tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, so I'm grateful. I grew up with godly parents, and they loved the Lord and raised me to know the Lord. But when I was 15 years of age, I went to a youth event at my church, and I'm getting ahead of myself. That's when I got called into ministry. How I came to know the Lord is I went to something called Young Life. You're probably familiar with it. Mm-hmm. And full disclosure, I went as a 15-year-old because there was a really cute girl that I knew went to Young Life. And so I showed up at Young Life, and after being there several weeks, the young adult leaders that were leading Young Life shared their testimony. and gave an opportunity to come to Christ. And that night, I surrendered my heart to the Lord, and have been following Him ever since.
Ever since. Now, you came to know the Lord. You kind of grew up in church then in that area.
I did. I didn't have a personal relationship with Christ until I was 15, a sophomore in high school, through Young Life, but was very much involved in my local church. And so when I was 17, this is what I started to say. When I was 17, then I was at a high school youth event. This is back in the 80s, and wow. That night, at the end of the time of being with my youth pastor that night, as I drove home, I just had this sense of call in my heart, like, Lord, if you can use me to make a difference in people's lives like my youth pastor, I want to serve you with my life. And that's really the night that I look back on. I don't remember the date, but I definitely remember the moment and where I was driving along that road when I sensed the Lord calling me to follow Him in a way of serving in full-time vocational ministry.
Isn't that interesting? A lot of people think that there's going to be thunder, lightning, flashes, but it's just an inward calling that you felt, and just a definite you wanted to help people. And
Absolutely.
That's what led you into the pastorate. Now, you were pastoring for 18 years here in Minnesota. What was it like to pastor? Let people on the inside scoop there.
The inside scoop. Well, so I kind of to back up, I moved to Minnesota from Arizona in the early 90s as a youth pastor. Took a youth pastor position, served at 2 churches in the Twin Cities, a church in Robbinsdale, prior to serving at Hosanna, which is in Lakeville. And then we moved back to Arizona for a period of time at a large mega church before coming back to Minnesota, where then I was the lead pastor at a church in Rosemount for 18 years.
18 years.
Yes, sir.
Now, recently, you moved then into another position at the International Ministerial Fellowship.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Oh, I love to talk about the ministry of IMF. So where imfserves.org is, I love the website because that's what IMF is all about. We serve those who serve others in frontline Christian ministries. In other words, we shepherd, support, encourage pastors, chaplains, missionaries, parachurch leaders, and currently IMF has over 1,600 such ministers, and we're one of the larger endorsing agencies of military chaplains. We have close to 500 chaplains all around the country.
Wow!
And as well as pastors and ministry leaders. So my role with IMF that I moved into 2.5 years ago on a part-time basis is I do strategic partnership relationship building. So I work with strategic partners to further the gospel, partnering together with IMF. And then we have a group of pastors that make up what we call alliance churches. We're not a denomination, we're a fellowship, but we have currently 14 congregations, and that's growing, of pastors that are independent or non-denominational churches that come under the spiritual covering of IMF, and I have the great honor and privilege to come alongside them and pastor those pastors.
And pastor those pastors. That's so important. And, of course, our friend Paul Marzan was in the studio some time ago.
Yeah.
Last year, he was one of my first interviews.
Mm-hmm.
What a wonderful man he is. Why is it important for pastors and leaders to be in a fellowship?
Oh, boy. Well, 70%, this is a Barna study a few years back that said 70% of pastors feel they don't have a trusted confidant they can open up to. We find that 40+% of pastors are on the verge of burnout. It's so important that pastors have someone or a collective group that they can trust and that they can be open with, and they can receive prayer, and they can receive encouragement, they can receive support. And so that's one of the things that we do at IMF when we say we serve those who serve others in frontline Christian ministries.
So if there's a pastor out there or a leader of a ministry or a parachurch ministry or a church, what would you say to them to encourage you? Maybe they feel alone, because I know a lot of pastors myself, being in the ministry, and it's difficult because who do you trust? I'm going through something, I don't know who to talk to. What would you say to them about contacting IMF?
Yeah, I would definitely say IMF is here for you. Reach out to IMF. We would love to get to know you, come alongside you. Also for those that are serving in some type of a ministry role, but maybe you're not currently credentialed with the spiritual covering. So you're looking to be licensed or ordained in ministry. We have a vetted process that we take people through. And it's not necessarily dependent upon an MDiv or schooling, although many of our people do have such schooling or education, even some that have doctorates. But we also have people in ministry that are part of the IMF family that don't have that background, but they have a call of God on their life and they have experience behind them. And so we take you through a process that we can credential you and so that you can be licensed or ordained. And then for those that maybe already are, and you're isolated, you're alone, boy, the IMF Fellowship is an incredible place to get connected and get supported.
And get encouraged. Now, you're also part of leadership around the country.
Yes, sir.
In the next 5.5 minutes or so, tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, well, in 2018, I had the great privilege by a friend to be introduced to best-selling author and leadership expert, Dr. John C. Maxwell. And so for the last several years, I've been personally being mentored by John Maxwell as a part of Maxwell Leadership. And so I was a lead pastor of a church when I started this journey, but quickly realized that that's always been a call on my life, is to develop leaders. I've been doing it in the church world for decades, and it was time to kind of branch out of that. And so I launched a for-profit company called Priority Living Consulting Group, coming up on 4 years ago. And now we have 9 folks on our team, coaches and consultants on our team. And so we work with companies, we work with small businesses, we work with nonprofits, we work with churches, and we come alongside and we raise the leadership lid. We work on a whole variety of skill sets that we can help develop to help people become more effective, fruitful, and successful.
I know you mentioned something to me upstairs when we were talking about, you know the golfer, but you don't know the coach. Tell us a little bit of the importance of getting a coach in your life.
Absolutely. Whatever line of work you're in, especially if you're listening, you're in ministry, having a coach is a game changer for you. Having a mentor, having a coach is a game changer. You know, every successful athlete, every successful business person, CEO of great companies, they all are being coached by others. And so I was sharing with you, Patrick, that before the broadcast here, I was on a Zoom call that I do on a regular basis with a pastor of a large multi-site church that I coach. And he shared with me, he said, wow, it's been remarkable the difference in my life personally, as well as what I've been able to do with my staff and my leadership, which ultimately has trickled down to my congregation because of the way I coach him, or he's being coached. And so I highly encourage people to get somebody to come alongside you that helps you become better. Basically, coaching is not counseling. Coaching actually helps you get from where you are to where you want to be. And that's what I love to do.
It's interesting, when you look up the word advocate for the Holy Spirit, there's another way to translate that. You probably know it already.
Come on.
Bill. It's really a coach.
Yeah.
Somebody come along to kind of coach your life. And we know that the Holy Spirit uses people. And when you have them in your life, you can uncover things that maybe you didn't see before. Now, you have a new book coming out soon, Bill. I want us to learn a little bit about that as well. What is it?
That's going to be hard to talk about in the time we have left, but I'll do my best.
You can do it, Bill. I know you can.
So later this spring, I have a new book coming out called 7 Pillars of Priority Living, How to Make Every Day Count. And the backdrop of this book is 25 years ago, November 23rd, 1999, the time I was living in Arizona, and I had respiratory failure from an asthma attack, which I coded, and I had an afterlife experience. My spirit left my body. I encountered heaven, and then I was obviously resuscitated, or I wouldn't be here today. And over these last 25 years, I've been intentional about developing what I call 7 pillars of priority living. And so those 7 pillars are something that I live out. It's not theory. It's something that I've lived out for over 20 years, that I can make every day count, because we only get one life. We only get one chance. I got a second chance. I shouldn't be here, but I want to help you. I want to help others make the most of every day, and they can apply 7 pillars for priority living to their life.
Wow, fantastic. I'm going to read that book. I'm really into bettering myself for the greater kingdom good. How will how will they be able to find that book, Bill?
Well, I can't wait. You'll probably have me back to talk about it. No, you'll be able to find it on Amazon, everywhere you get books. It'll be available when it comes out the end of May.
Now, in the last minute or so that we have remaining, a word of encouragement for somebody out there.
Yeah.
What would you say to them? People, life is tough. We all know. We get battered, we get bruised, things happen. What would you say to them about your own relationship with Jesus, the pillars that you have had in your life? Give us a word of encouragement today.
Yeah, I love to bring encouragement. You know, Truett Cathy, the founder of Chick-fil-A, once said, "Who needs encouragement?" And he answered his own question, Patrick, when he said, "Everybody who's breathing needs encouragement." So our listeners today, they're breathing and they're listening. And so I want to bring this word of encouragement that God is for you. He's not against you. He has good things in store for you. It doesn't matter where you've been. Your best days are still ahead of you. And so I want to encourage you today, just a focus on Jesus. He says in his word in Matthew 6:33, "Seek first my kingdom." When we seek first him, we will be encouraged and will live our best life.
Bill, it has been a pleasure being with you today. You're listening to Ministry Connections on AM 980 The Mission, where we give you a better look at local ministries and churches in the area. My guest was Bill Goodwin. You can check him out all over the internet. If you're on Facebook, just look him up. If you want to listen to past or present programs, look us up on AM 980 The Mission on YouTube. And then until next time, God bless you.